That's not.
So as Vince is looking for the next opportunity, into the store walks John Arezzi. John is in his late 20s, and he has a radio show in Long Island that's based on professional wrestling. John heard that the WWF stars were being booked there, so he thought, hey, this guy is primed to sell advertising too. So he comes to call on Russo just for that exact reason, to advertise on his wrestling radio show. And Russo thought John was maybe a little shady, and this is directly from his book, by the way, and he assumed that John believed him to be a money mark. But he decided to play the game because he wants to get his foot in the door of the business. So they start working together in November 91 on John's radio show, which was called The Wrestling Spotlight. Since this is based in New York, it feels like something that would at least be on the WWF's radar. Do you remember anyone in the company listening and mentioning it? And what was the take on everybody's opinion on John Arezzi?
I do remember it. And, shady is as shady does. So, shady kind of runs with shady sometimes. But it was more of a dirt sheet radio show where they would read Meltzer's dirt sheet and they would talk about the dirt behind the scenes in the business. And I think that Russo was Vic Venom or Vicious Vincent or something like that.
Yeah. Vicious Vincent, I believe, was his radio name. Did you have a conversation with anybody in the company? Like, who would have listened to this? Would this have been something that was on Pat Patterson's radar? Would Vince have heard it? It feels like the Fink would have been
Howard
into this.
Finkel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Russo was essentially taking money from his failing video store here to pay for John to, quote, play radio. And those are Russo's words. Eventually he saw the potential though for this to be a bigger show, but he felt like it needed a bigger reach. So Russo starts negotiating and actually lands a station with a bigger signal that could reach New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania with a more lucrative Sunday at 11 p.m. time slot. Now that matters because on nights with those pay-per-views, you could go ahead and have people turn on the radio and hear these guys kind of cover the dirt and what happened on the show. He's doing this at a clip of $1,500 per week. This is a huge drain on Russo's store, especially back in 1991-92. So he decides to start a newsletter with John to help fund it. It's called The Wrestling Spotlight, but eventually Russo feels like he is taking this way more seriously than John ever had. And so he actually decides to briefly train to become a wrestler with the WWE Hall of Famer Johnny Rodz in Brooklyn. Did you hear this story about Russo training to take bumps and be a performer?
Yeah, I heard he trained there for a little bit, but nothing serious ever came of it.
It's just, I don't know why, but that was fascinating to me to know that, he actually kicked that around. Once the video stores are a thing of the past, Vince starts selling household appliances. Bruce, I know this is a bit of a stretch here, but how much of being a successful writer goes hand in hand with being a good salesman? It feels like McMahon, Bischoff, yourself, Russo, in some form or fashion, all salesmen. What say you?
You have to be, because you've got to sell your product. You've got to sell your story, and you want people within your story. You want to sell them to continue to come back and keep listening. So you got to be a great salesman. If you're not, then you're not going to last very long.